Hey Papa, how's it going?
Oh,
Is my audio okay? I'm stuck in a hotel today, so I'm not sure how good the Wi-Fi is.
sound good, sound good.
Hey
Okay,
Josh
perfect.
and Paco,
Hey Juan.
can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I
Okay.
can.
Cool. Let's give others a couple of minutes to join.
Sure.
Hello.
Hey.
How's everyone doing today?
Cool. Maybe you can start our meeting. Mm.
Yeah, let's get started. Um, so we have only two items on the agenda today. The first one is about KubeCon. Stephen, do you want to talk about it?
Sure. So Tag has a maintainer session. We got that moved to Wednesday, actually. We had the last session of the conference, which is always a fun, well-attended time. We also had some conflicts with speakers, so we were able to get that moved to Wednesday, which is amazing. So Marlo can join as well. Marlo's very active in the batch working group, I guess, initially working group. Now it's the batch initiative. Um, yeah, and we just had Conte added as well, so that's very cool. Um, so this is just the regular tag maintainer talk. We gave a similar talk in North America November. So just a lot of interesting updates for leading back to forming of the tag, the new group of tags, and how we fit in here, and a lot of the really talking through the initiatives that are ongoing. So I think the white paper um, is an interesting piece of that as well. Cloud native AI scheduling challenges, trying to get that approved. So we can mention that, try to drum up interest for different initiatives, anything that's going on, and then really a call out to all the different projects that are involved in CNCF and how some of those overlap with this group, and just bringing awareness to all the stuff going on in the community.
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, it's gonna be a great opportunity for us to meet in person again, if we have met, and for others to learn about the tag, and hopefully we can recruit some new contributors and community members to participate.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, just to understand, is it a presentation or kind of like a meeting for us to know each other? I didn't understand.
So it's a regular talk. So there is, there's slides we'll go through and kind of go through those topics that I kind of mentioned. But it's certainly it's a good opportunity to kind of give us at least a place to go to meet after. If nowhere else, then that gives us kind of a focal point for the week to get together but it is a talk itself, and then good spot to ask questions, or I'd love to meet you again more in person if you happen to be there or anyone else. But yeah, kind of a good coordination point if nothing else.
Awesome. See you there.
Awesome.
See you there. Yeah, the next item is about the Cloud Native Agentic Standards paper. Uh, Josh, is Nina here?
Yes, I'm
Nina's
also
also
here.
here.
Yeah.
Okay. Which one of you is planning to present?
So maybe we can do a very, very short round of introductions.
Mhm.
I don't know if everyone knows me. I certainly don't know everybody. So just to set the stage a little bit. My name's Josh Halley. I'm a principal architect at Cisco. Been working in sort of security observability and AI domains for quite some time, and was active in the AI working group when it existed, and am now currently working with the team in the AI technical community group. Um, yeah, I'm one of the code leads for the CNCF or the Cloud Native AI Agentic Standards paper, which started back in June of last year. It's been through a lot of ups and downs, and it's been approved by the TOC, but we need to go through the rounds here, and we want to make sure that you guys are familiar with what's the content and be able to answer any questions. I can see Victor, you're here also. You were one of the contributors, as were many others, and my partner in crime, Nina, she's here in the call too. So maybe Nina, if you want to set the stage also from your side, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can also give a quick intro. I'm Nina. I'm work at Solo on a lot of AI gateway things. So Agent Gateway, the REST-based proxy that we're building, that's also part of the Linux Foundation. Also involved in the Kubernetes community. I was the 133 release lead. But recently, I've been working with Josh to try to get this agentic standards paper published. So like you mentioned, has been kind of a work in progress. We really want to, get it published before KubeCon if that's possible. So we're kind of here to give you an overview of it, and looking for volunteers to kind of approve it from the tag work group's perspective.
So if there's any questions, we can answer them now. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen and sort of giving everyone a rundown, if that's okay. So let me go ahead and share. Just bear with me for a second here.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for the intro. Has anyone, first of all, like, has anyone reviewed the paper yet? I mean,
We have
in this group, I guess. Okay, I guess Josh, you can take it then.
okay,
I
Thanks for
was
the
sure.
intro.
muted. Yeah, I have reviewed the paper. I made some small edits as well. Yeah, it's a good paper. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, cool.
All right, so let me try and share. 1 second. Okay, so I'm gonna initially sort of walk through the Google Docs version just because it's a little bit more visually appealing, and then jump across to the actual paper here in Git, which has some minor nuances, but yeah, basically the paper is mentioned. We've had a lot of contributors from all around the place. I think Victor, you're one of them. Namisha was also involved, as was Vincent, and many other people. Basically, that the idea of the paper was, which has been renamed Cloud Native from Kubernetes because it isn't limited um, to Kubernetes. The idea of the paper was to basically distill just a best practices checklist around key pillars that represent the deployment of AI topics in cloud native architectures. So we basically started out by sort of setting the stage, and I can jump across here. We started out by setting the stage around what exactly is the definition of containerization in cloud native. What do we consider this represents? And then sort of we jump to definitions of what just general best practices, not exhaustive, are feeding into existing papers, existing collateral from the CNCF around general best practices, not to reinvent the wheel. The objective here is not to have an exhaustive paper that answers every single question. It's really just to provide key checkboxes or key information that can then support in pointing to other deliverables from the CNCF, like the scheduling paper you described and other papers which exist out there to sort of have like a really quick, easy, have I done this? Have I done that? Does this make sense? And then really delve into those deeper, delve deeper into the real proper deliverables and papers which are more specific in that subject matter. So the key pillars that we have are security, observability, and fault tolerance in terms of general items. And here we're basically talking to, let's go ahead and execute the best practices of zero privilege, information hiding in the context of containerization, right? We don't want to go and expose all of our sprawl and mess and databases and backend standard stuff that exists there in the cloud native space, right? We want to avoid having overly large deployments unnecessarily, secrets man. So all of this are no-brainers for people that are familiar in the space, but they're being called out just for completeness, basically. Then from an observability perspective, we talk to the principles of metrics, events, logs, and traces, and then standard things. And this is the general section, right? This is not specific to AI. It could be specific to any installation, just general hygiene, good practices. Same with the availability and fault tolerance, that we want to ensure that we have the right resource limits, the right budgets, anti-affinity, auto-scaling rules, and so forth. So that's sort of setting the stage for what we consider standard things. And here you can see we're pointing in the footnotes to, um, you know, existing white papers that exist, pod security standards, white papers, and other information from the CNCF. As mentioned, the list can just get bigger and bigger. And the earlier feedback from the TOC was we want to try and keep papers to 10 pages. And there can be new versions, obviously, right? So anything that gets over 10 pages tends to get the response back. It needs to be chopped. We need to reduce or do multiple papers. So the idea is more, let's keep it short and snappy and just have the information that we feel pertinent to the deployment at the moment or the paper at the moment. And there can always be a version 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 as new deliverables come in and new collateral comes in that we feel is more pertinent to the topic at hand. So some of the key headlines that we have here is the control and communication section, where we're looking at the orchestration and fault tolerance aspects, tools and services which can be used, so MCP, A to A, ACP, etc., and then agent connectivity, um, and how the agents can communicate with other agents. So we're looking at what the protocols are, and this is such a quickly moving topic that, from 1 week to the next, where, we're into change revision around the AI, AI foundation is now there. It's not Anthropic is no longer authoritative for MCP and some of the standards. So it's constantly a game of catch up. And you can see from when the document was instantiated back in July, there's been perpetual updates which the team's been feeding in to try and get things documented properly. So then authenticate. So we've also got this needs to be cleaned up a tiny bit and marked down. We're also pointing to SPIF Spire from a perspective of authentication, authorization, focused protocols, and we're calling out in the terms of communication. Yes, sorry,
So you
Terry.
mentioned, can you scroll up a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah, so you mentioned like there are like some recent changes, like some new foundation, like agentic AI foundation, like that we
Sure.
well imagine this paper to evolve quite quickly. So what's the plan going forward? Like, are there gonna be like maintainers of this paper who are actively like monitoring the changes? Like, would those new changes be going through the same review process?
So we've actually that's a good call out, and the TUC flagged that also. I think Dibs raised this one, and he said, "Look, change revision is extremely high, so let's make sure that we have the process in place to work out how do we actually deal with change revision." So there's
Okay.
an accompanying document which outlines everything associated with change revision. I'm expecting in 6 months' time we're going to have an update, right? It's just such a quick moving space. I think a lot of the foundation activities and technologies here, that's going to stay the same, but you know, there may be something new that we want to add here, or there may be an update, and it has to be a relatively painless activity if we want to go ahead and update something minor in the paper based on the latest and greatest and what's going on, right? And this is the challenge with any of the papers that we've sort of touched on in the AI space. And I heard before the team here is working on the scheduling space. We were involved in that one a long time ago, but it's constantly new new things coming in. DRA was released. There's a lot of other things which come in that force a need to evergreen and update and improve. So we put the contributors section in here to support in making it less painful for folks to decide to come in and add changes and updates. Does that answer your question, Terry?
Yeah, yeah, got it. Thanks.
Okay, so jumping back. So yeah, so basically we're covering the foundation topics of control and communication flows, and that ranges from the protocols to an extent we have today, including SPIF and Spire, and also obviously message bus protocol or message buses, which in these deployment constructs are of course also quite relevant. We're looking at potential discovery flows, DNS being one option, but this is an area in the domain where we're seeing obviously a lot of churn, and I anticipate that in the not too distant future, A to A, they're currently in the process of trying to align um, what the final blueprint looks like for registries. There's going to be a few things which change in the next 6 months that require a little bit of updates here, and then we're sort of linking to what we see in the space at the moment around adjacent protocols and activities there in the domain. Tanti, I
Hi.
see you got a question.
Thanks. So maybe confusion to me is like we call this a standard checklist. So I mean, for cloud native standard, usually it's like computing, storage, network. But this paper, I saw a lot of agent AI related. So I mean, what's your consideration here? Like, is this a standard or this is a agentic checklist?
So we're sort of looking at from a standards perspective. There was another paper which used very similar naming. These are standards, but it's more talking to these are things that need to be checked. So I wouldn't say it's analogous to standards in the context of an RFC or the IETF, where it's set in stone and took 4 or 5 years to iron out, right? So, but we're certainly not at that point. So I think the name standards here is not necessarily to say this is all set in stone and nothing's going to move. It's more to say these are standard things that one needs to consider at a high level. When we drill down, obviously there's going to be a little bit more entropy around the way that things happen. So we're sort of matching up with naming from similar papers that have been published in the CNCF in terms of standards reflecting considerations more than really something which is heavily set in stone, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what other folks' opinion, but to me, I mean, this is like, I feel like this is more related to agentic systems. So that's my thought.
So maybe let's keep going through the document because that just touched we touched on the communication pattern section, and there you've got a lot with agentic, right? So let's maybe keep going, and then we can revisit that concern, Kanti, if that's okay. So observability, we have an overview here, which is sort of broken into metrics, events, spans, and traces. So we're looking at the communication patterns, and the tracking of tokens and other data which is relevant here within that space, looking at the way that the confidence levels potentially related to things with inferencing and data rate limits are handled and concerned. So these are being called out as key topics. We're looking also at observability in the context of traceability for which leads into things like the EU AI Data Act. How are we handling the provenance of data? How can we explain what's actually happening? Where is the source of truth of the data, and how was the model trained or built or derived? So this information is relevant. We're looking at the different instrumentation patterns which exist, auto instrumentation also that could potentially be deployed, and then the metadata which may be included, which we're sort of referencing in the context of inclusion using hotel baggage under circumstance too. And then we go to looking at, leveraging logs in a way that can be potentially used by information systems, logs in the context of natural language and even canonical logging, whereby we've got a superset of the different data where metrics can be derived from logs in certain scenarios. And then we're looking obviously at continuous monitoring, allowing for adjustment and control, with the OTEL project obviously being advocated here as a means to achieve a lot of this information. Questions on observability? Okay. And then as mentioned, we're sort of footnoting the relevant topics that we have here to the CNCF projects that we have wherever relevant. The governance section. So this was one which Vincent heavily worked on. He was the one of the owners for governance, and this is looking towards sort of aspects of how the governance and handling of data and regulation adheres to the way that one handles AI in the cloud native space. So we're looking at assessment criteria from total cost of usage, compute cost, financial costs, a lot of metrics which one should and could consider when looking into this problem space. Looking at the use of synthetic data generation for execution, and then assessment of trajectory. So we're looking at the precision and the veracity of testing and data privacy, and of course explainability, which links back to under circumstance observability, that there is to an extent an overlap there between those two domains and spaces, and then lifecycle management and governance in the domain of AI ops. Finally, we have the security topic, which then links into how we're handling security of agent identities, but a broader handling of security of workloads across the system. So agents are mentioned across the background and platform, but in the context of AI, agents are not only generative AI entities which have become popular in the last 18 months. If we are being familiar in the domain, agents have existed as patterns for many, many, many years, right? There's many classic patterns of agent flows which have existed in this problem space. So we're looking at the user identity of the agent, how the identity is allocated and assigned, how the workload itself is identified and validated in specific ways, and then how credentials then fit in. So we're looking into the context of SVIDs, tokens, and best practices, and using the principles of zero trust to ensure that deployed constructs, which obviously these actions, and this was raised many times by different reviewers, that this can also be applicable to non-AI use cases. And the answer is yes, yes. There's certainly scenarios where mm, certain security aspects are relevant in many other use cases too. But we feel that in this particular problem space, these ones are the important ones to call out. And we had to chop the list significantly, right? We're trying to stick within that 10-page limit is not always easy. So we had to make some tough calls around what stayed and what went. Um, so then we're looking at things like just-in-time access, principle of least privilege, and at user attribute-based access control, policy-based access control, and isolation. And then we're looking at the data itself. What's the access policy for the data? How do we mitigate things like prompt injection, restrict access to tool hijacking, and then authorization, authentication to access relevant APIs, which are um, linking up to the broader infrastructure. So looking at isolation of the runtime environment, sandboxes, and then trusted execution environments. And then again, we've got a bunch of links. So we're trying to keep it as short and sweet as we can, given the broad array of topics that we have here. And I think it's difficult to tick all the boxes. There's always something that we would have loved to add in there, but within 10 pages, it's difficult. And the idea again is not let's exhaustively cover every single aspect of what exists there. It's more, this is the general guidelines, and there's more verbose information available that you can look at and, you know, lean on if you want to take a deeper dive. And I anticipate that as the documentation and the as time goes on, we'd be swapping out some of those links. Some things will become stale and newer things will come up, and there'll certainly be opportunity to bring in other papers. You said the scheduling paper is going to be out hopefully for KubeCon. We can certainly include components there where it's relevant to ensure that the links to this newer documentation are cross-referenced and included for individuals to be able to find and source the latest and greatest information for this space. So I talked a lot. Um, any further questions? And Kanti, I know that you raised concerns before around this being very agentic focused. Now that I've sort of run through everything, I don't know, Nina, if you want to add anything to
Yeah,
what I described.
I think you did a good job like clarifying that because we only have 10 pages, we have to focus on something. So it's like the scope down to cloud native agentic standards. So you'll notice that there's nothing really about serving or like scheduling or like model specific security in here. It's really scoped down to like if you're trying to deploy an agent, here are the things you should think about. Um, and more of like a, living, breathing document that has guidelines for people to follow, but it's not like an extensive list of everything in the space. Um, with that, I think there are a couple questions, so maybe we can answer them. Like Stephen, I think you had your hand up.
Sure. Yeah. First of all, just thank you for going through all of that, Josh and Nina. Clearly, is a ton of work has gone into this. I guess my question is, you're kind of presenting here and looking for the tag review. What type of review are you looking for at this point? Like, should we be going through for content at this point, or, you said this is already approved through TOC. Should we be just kind of, making sure that we understand and kind of giving an approval as well? Or, what is the best way to provide feedback right now?
So I think we've had 4 or 5 review phases already.
Yeah.
They started back
Yeah.
in July. Um,
Right.
so I think if we generally look at how review phases take place in publishing, we've got our technical review phase for the veracity of the content, the copy editor phase where essentially we're looking at alignment and polish, and
Hmm.
obviously you know verifying that we're not conflicting or um, causing any challenges for anybody out there in terms of wording, and that's where some of the wording from Anthropic to the AI Foundation, some of the minor last bits were sort of adjusted and changed. So I think the last review, which we had a bunch of technical reviewers come in that were separate from the authors late last year. And then the TOC reviewers, we had Dibs and Lynn and others um, and Ricardo and team get involved to sort of look at the paper there too, and they gave us the green light. I guess really we just want to make sure that we're paddling in the same direction as the tag, and that you guys are on board and feel that it makes sense here, and that in the future when we're looking at updating and evergreening the documentation, that we're sort of able to collaborate and work together towards making sure that things sort of evolve and build up for in the future in the right direction. Really, that's I guess my ask here. I don't know, Nina, if you've got something further that you want to add.
Yeah, I think if there's like a volunteer that wants to, read through it and give us like like some feedback based on, your reading of it and then approve it on behalf of the tag, that would be great.
Hmm.
Again, like it has gone through several rounds, but the
Yeah.
TNC have to tell us we need, someone from the tag to check. So we'd love to
Okay.
get a volunteer.
Yeah. And then as far as official approval, that would be in the issue. Is that the one that's already been merged? You're looking for like a tag
Yes.
member to also do an approval there.
Yep, and any feedback that's left on that PR, we'll open a new PR addressing it. But
Okay.
I think like yeah, the approval can be done either on that PR or the one with the feedback addressed.
Okay. That sounds great. Thank you.
Quick question. What does 1749 mean? The prefix for the file name.
Sorry, that's 1749.
Yeah.
Um, I think Rianne gave us that identifier to use. I think
It's the PR in which you guys did
that's
all the.
that's right. Yes, it's a peer number. That's right. Good call.
But the PR number is 1903.
Oh, the issue number, I think. Yeah.
Issues, sorry. Yeah.
Like
Oh,
the
the issue
tag
number.
in
Got
Kubernetes.
it, got
Yeah.
it. Do we like is that following a convention for this folder or something?
So I think we don't have a whole lot in this folder yet. I know this was for the
Okay.
recommendation of Rianne at this point, but the folder here is it's not the endpoint for deliverables, right? This is not really having a markdown document. I think is nice, but eventually I think any deliverables to match up with the look and the feel of the CNCF and to be representative of the organization will eventually go to the publishers to translate into a proper deliverable. I think that's what we're seeing. So this is sort of an interim stopping point before, and it's obviously better for reviews, but eventually I can imagine that these deliverables will, be available for those revisions and updates in this format, but then, eventually become a PDF or something that is referenceable. Um,
Yeah, I guess the file name is just a little bit confusing. The number is pretty minor, but the cloud native standards checklist, that's kind of ambiguous, right? We might want to make it specific to agentic standards instead.
so the naming started with Kubernetes agentic standards, and it did get requested to be adjusted early on because it does touch on more of the cloud native space than the Kubernetes.
Yeah, I mean, like the
So
file name, it's currently cloud native standards, which is very broad.
okay. So we can clearly get it updated. So add it as a comment. There's no problem with us
Mhm.
obviously adjusting it because yeah, that's certainly a good call out. It diverges.
Yeah,
So
I'll add a comment. Yeah.
so that's good feedback already. We can change that, no problem. Um Mauro, I see you've got a question.
Yeah, one question and one observation. On the observation side, I find very interesting what you're saying that you had to change a lot because a lot moved in the AI ecosystem. I wonder if it would make sense to put dates on these papers, like blog posts, like it's not the same to read as about a certain topic from 10 years ago than now, but it sounds like for AI, it's even more needed. And then as a question, I see you have investigated there about sandboxing to run these agents. Did you guys investigate anything regarding systems that need to adapt themselves? I'm thinking about tools that are going to be coming up about analyzing Kubernetes, but not just telling you what the problem might be, but also trying to solve it for you.
So I think what you're talking about is level four, potentially level five closed loop automation in the context of artificial intelligence, right? And I think those topics are interesting, but in terms of that links more into the execution pattern of the agents and the system design, I would say more than anything else. So that's a very big topic. Yes, of course, there's self-optimizing, and I think if we look at, you know, classic optimizations of models, we even have adversarial networks and certain things which can head in that direction in terms of improving things. We didn't dig into that level, and again, this sort of comes down to the size of the document. You know, if I start jumping into adversarial networks and self-optimization and level four, level five autonomy in the context of AI, we need another document. I think that's a great document and submission in itself, honestly. I think that could I could easily write 10 pages on just that, but difficult to fit in sort of what we want to be sort of like a quick check in the box for, there's always a balance between setting the stage for a reader so that they actually understand what the heck the checkbox is all about, and making it too exhaustive. And I think some of the concepts they've just got such deep foundation knowledge requirements to even set the stage that it's tough to include things to that level. So to answer your question, not specifically, but we feel that the agent patterns which are described in the best practices or the considerations which we've listed here do feed into at least the foundation to get up and started towards deploying systems which are more advanced that can potentially look towards level four, level five, closed loop, and with human and level five full autonomous actions when designed correctly.
Got it. Thank you very much. And if I may, a question to the talk. Uh, I would like to understand how this particular topic fits in the talk itself. It's sometimes hard for me reading the title of the talk, up to which topics are we considering to be native to our talk, so to speak. Maybe Yuan, Paco, I don't
Sorry,
know
can
if you
you
guys know.
repeat? I didn't catch the question.
Yeah, sorry. It's about how exactly does this kind of topic fits within the Workflow Foundation talk? And I don't know, I don't have it clear what the scope of the talk is considering this kind of topic, for example.
Yeah, I guess even for this paper itself, it has a pretty broad uh, set of like dimensions and perspectives, even though it's scoped to agentic AI. And this tag is also very broad that covers a wide range of topics. So I guess what we'll do is like we'll be assigning main reviewers for to review the paper, but others are also welcome to chime in. I think so far Kent and Stephen have volunteered to review. So we'll spend some time on reviewing the paper and get back to you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Terry. Appreciate it. So yeah, if Nina and myself we're available for any feedback or input that the team has here.
Mhm.
Um yeah, happy to
Okay.
support and just if there's anything which is confusing, feel free to just message me on Slack. I think some things are, it's either 3 days of back and forth in the issue, or just a quicker response directly. So I'm available for that. I don't know, Nina, if you're also available to answer questions in Slack.
Yeah, definitely. Like you can just message us in Slack and we'll try to quickly iterate to get this in.
Mhm. Yeah, we have the tag Slack channel, so we can put like ask questions there or like add comments on the PR. Either way should work.
Sure.
One other question I have is have you guys heard of the conformance program from Kubernetes that we're working on?
I've heard the name, but maybe you can give me
Yeah,
a
I shared a link here. It's like the discussions are around Kubernetes and its ecosystem, but this is something we announced at last KubeCon, and we'll be providing some updates in Europe, KubeCon Europe as well. So I imagine there will be some emerging standards from the agentic system perspective. So I would highly encourage you like to check it out and see if there's any new standards and emerging topics that we should consider to add to that conformance program.
Okay, sure thing. So I can certainly take a look there, and read through it. What I can also offer is we have the AI technical community groups where people are presenting and sharing updates on topics around AI. If you want to get the word out around what you're detailing there in the conformance um, section, then we're more than happy to have you come on and present there too, just to sort of rally input and get more people involved if you want.
Yeah, I believe Janet has presented the community. It's the technical community group, right? Yeah, I
Exactly,
think she
exactly.
presented there before, but it was probably around the holidays, so maybe the attendance was pretty low. But we'll be sharing updates at KubeCon anyways. Maybe we'll just keep you guys posted on that. Maybe cross post any updates on Slack. Yeah,
Okay.
like feel free to like get involved there as well. We have like bi-weekly meetings too.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Any questions from others?
So maybe one more question about the paper. Like, I mean, uh, for example, I know the size for the white paper is limited, like I guess 10 pages. So, how to for example, I just take a quick look of the paper. I saw there are very little content about storage there. But I guess storage is quite important for agentic system, even in cloud native. So, should we include that, or you have already included, and but then you remove it?
So we had it broken down into so when we built the paper, we had to sort of decide, we can't cover everything, right?
Yeah.
So we ended up thinking, what are the key topics? And that came down to sort of governance, observability, security, and those communication patterns. And storage patterns, I think there was a paper which was in the works. I recall seeing one which was up and coming, which was focused heavily on storage and AI. I need to find the link again. But I think we certainly can include any links to existing papers around storage which are relevant in there. But having an exhaustive, this is again that 10-page limit challenge, right? I'd love to have a section on other topics, but then that's at the cost of losing content on others, right? So unfortunately, like we already had to strip a whole lot of content. I think we were 18 pages and we had to trim down to 10. So yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
and there's a section on agent data access, which briefly touches some storage concerns, but it's definitely not extensive. Like that's not the focus of the full, standards paper. So if there are additional links that we should include there, that's a great place to add them.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of effort. Thank you guys for working on that. All
Thanks
right.
a lot, Terry, and appreciate you guys having us on today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for joining. I guess that's it for today then. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.